Good morning or afternoon, everyone, depending on what part of the country you're in. Today is June 18th, 2015, and this is our 29th Mastermind call. So I appreciate you all calling in today. I was telling the group that we're here early, the four founders of the company, along with our spouses and partners, were at a meeting in Central Florida that we've been going through for the last 3 days. We've got all kinds of new projects planned. We're going to significantly upgrade what we're doing, and all the principals are on the call. One of the most significant things is we're rolling out just a vastly improved website, and we expect that'll probably go live in the next day or two, right, Chad?
Yeah, I think probably by tomorrow.
Okay. And either Tim or Chad, is this a good avenue for telling the group, how to kind of navigate through that, or just kind of let them do that and ask us questions on the next call? What do you think?
No, I mean, it's going to be a much easier, much better user experience for everybody. And what I'll do is, for those of you who, if you haven't watched the Fast Track videos, you should. They're pinned to the top of the Facebook group, and they're also in the members area. But I'll go through and make new videos on how to order mail, how to subscribe to new counties, how to do this, how to do that, and kind of what resources there. I think you guys will be real impressed with. We've learned a lot in the last quarter about mail and the ordering that goes along with that, and the customer service that goes along with that. And thanks everybody to your feedback on this call and on Facebook and through our support system. So I'll make a series of videos that will kind of introduce everybody to that, but it should be pretty easy to figure out.
Excellent. Tim, anything you want to say to the group?
Yeah, I would just add to that we've spent a lot of time doing it. We've taken our time to try and get it right, and if we've done our job, it shouldn't be too hard to figure out. But what we're going to ask that you do is, if you see something that's not clear to you, you don't understand it, let us know. We're trying to create a culture of excellence in our company that is going to give you more value than just giving you leads, and we want you to help us make sure that the tools we provide for you are the tools that you need, and they're easy to understand, easy to work with, and you're going to see a lot of changes, but they're what we think ought to be there, and a lot of it, as Jim said and Chad said, are based on feedback we've gotten from you, but we want to continue to get your help in building what we're doing. We're going to cheat and let you tell us how to do it, and make sure that when you're paying us money, you're paying us for something that's been customized to your needs. So we appreciate you. Thank you very much.
Excellent. There's about 20 of us on the call right now. Does anybody, it's a relatively small group compared to usual, but does anybody have any success stories or wins that they want to share this week? Ravi, you had an awesome win for us a couple weeks ago. Do you have any follow-up on that?
Well, we just listed the house about 12 days ago, so the showings have been going well. So no complaints at all. I haven't gotten any offers yet, but first weekend in June is very slow here, and I'm hoping this will be a good weekend, but we just put it on the market about 12 days ago.
I thought all probate leads sold within 14 days.
I hope so. This Saturday will be 14 days.
Just kidding. I remember, Ravi, when you shared that one with us, it was like, holy cow, it's not supposed to be this easy.
I was amazed. It was great.
Yeah. Congratulations.
Can I ask a question?
Please do.
Okay, so I received my second set of leads, and on the first set of leads that I did get a listing from, I was doing all the calls myself, and that just became overwhelming. So my second set, I used Call Loop based on Chad's advice. And I have a question on that. When you're setting up Call Loop, I thought my intent was to leave a message and so their phone doesn't ring at all, and then Call Loop shows me the results. So it said X number was left a voicemail, another percentage was no answer, and a third group was live. So I'm assuming they do nothing when there's live. My question was, when I set it up, or what I wanted to know from Chad, do you set it up that they should hear the message if they pick up the phone and leave a voicemail? Or because what I did was, once that came back live, I started calling them. So I figured, okay, I got it back. They were a live call. Let me just call them right now.
Yep. So call loop is not a ringless voicemail technology. You can leave a voicemail. You can leave a recording for a live answer, or you can do an automatic hang up based on which box you select. If you want to leave ringless voicemails, I suggest you move to voice casting, which is a product by VoiceLogic, and you can go to voicelogic.com. If you're going to make that move, let me know, and I'll introduce you to Steve Lendo. The great thing about their company is they have one-on-one customer service. So you get to talk with a live, friendly Canadian who will help you customize your campaign. Call loop is definitely cheaper. It's 5 cents per message, where voice casting is they call them minutes. So it's 15 cents per minute that you leave. So if you call 100 people and burn 100 minutes, it would be $15. So what Jim Sullivan, Jim has had incredibly good success with Call Loop. He loves it. I haven't used it that much in my business because I've always used voice casting. But Jim has a lot of success with just click the button that says play the message for a live answer.
Yeah, what I do, I leave a very brief message. Hey, my name is Jim. I noticed you inherited some property in Florida. If you're interested in selling that property, give me a call. I don't make reference to whether I'm a realtor or investor. I want them to call me back. I use my cell phone number for the caller ID, and invariably, as soon as I send the message out, I'll get 20, 30, 35 calls back. And the most common message I get is, they don't realize it was a recording because it's very brief and to the point, and it sounds very informal. I get people say, hey, I was on the line, you couldn't hear me. You hung up on me. So as soon as
they pick up, they hear the message?
They hear the message. Yeah. And the reason I do that, you get 100% coverage that way. And the reason I have them call back my voicemail, it gives me an opportunity to listen to all the messages and prioritize the ones I want to call back first. And we are actually, as a company, we are probably leaning now more towards a VoiceLogic because, like Chad said, their deliverability, they are more expensive, but I find with Call Loop, even if you do the live message plus the voicemail, it's about 30 or 40% to get delivered, which is okay. They only charge you for the ones that get delivered. But VoiceLogic has about an 85% deliverability. So, and it only goes, Chad, am I correct that VoiceLogic only goes to the voicemail? It doesn't play on the live message, correct?
It does not. So it's if it hits a phone tree, it won't deliver, but nothing will. So basically, the only thing that it won't deliver to is a phone tree or like an old school physical answering machine in somebody's house. Most voicemails are now server based, so it even on a landline it will bypass the ring and drop a voicemail. And in the grand scheme of things, 15 cents a call is really not that bad. Most people can make their 2 days worth of calls for $30, and it all comes down to what's your time worth. And for me, I feel like the level of professionalism with a ringless voicemail is way higher than a recorded message. I'm not saying it doesn't work because I've seen Jim Sullivan list a hell of a lot of houses doing it that way. Just for me personally, I felt like that was what I wanted to do in my business. And for me, to be able to call my entire list for $30, I think that's cheap.
Guys, somebody has a lot of background noise. If you could mute us out, I don't have the ability to do that this week. Thank you. It sounds like you did. There's about 30 of us on the call now, guys. Who else has a question that we can answer?
This is Sam from Florida. I have a quick question regarding the leads. We recently We recently got our third set of leads, and I sent out mailers to about 200 of the last couple sets of leads that came out, and I received about a 10% return that they're undeliverable. And I'm just curious, the data that we're receiving, how old is that data? I bet assume it's fairly fresh, no?
It is.
Yeah,
It's no more than 30 days. So, but this has come up 2 times in the last month, Sam. So tell me about your mail piece. Tell me about your envelope, what it looked like, colors, stamps.
Sure. I use an A2 envelope, which is approximately the size of a wedding invitation. I use the personal representative's name and personal representative address on a mailing label, and I also have a return address label with a first-class stamp. So that's basically what my mailing piece is, and I'm getting a lot that are saying, not deliverable or not deliverable as addressed, or that kind of thing. So I'm just wondering, is there something that I'm doing wrong, or is it the way that the data that's not being collected properly? I'm just trying to figure out where my problem is. What
color is your envelope?
Yellow.
What, like a light, like a pastel yellow or a bright yellow?
It's a fairly bright yellow.
It could be your problem. So what we learned in getting into the direct mail business, I was doing a Halloween campaign and decided to use bright orange greeting card envelopes, and that was a huge mistake because the postal lasers cannot read, for whatever reason, those like bright. And another one of our clients in Florida had this problem. She called me and she's like, "Dad, I've sent 2 months worth of letters and I got nothing." And it took 40 minutes of questions to really figure out what it could possibly be. Because I'll tell you, I tracked this when I first got started. Out of the first 4,000 pieces of mail I sent, I had 6 undeliverable, 6 out of 4,000. So I quit putting return addresses because I didn't think I needed to, just to see how that would affect my open rates. My open rates went up, and I haven't put return addresses since. So the people who have had problems, we've usually pinpointed it down to either with the undeliverable, it usually comes down to your envelope color, and something's happening with the postal sorting lasers, where you're getting kicked into an undeliverable because it reflected too much light and it couldn't read the actual writing on the address label. So what I would say is change to a pastel, an ivory, and you should see that problem go away. If you don't, we'll definitely, and please, you guys, always, if you discover something like this, send an email to support@alltheleads.com, and we'll kind of drill down and flag this and watch it, because it's not typical. What happens is we send somebody into a courthouse every month and they come out. So what data we provide to you is exactly what is on public record, and because it's so new, it should always be relevant. So that's why when I hear something like this, it almost seems like a mailing problem, not a data problem to me. But try
Chad.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, and this is Tim. The only thing I would add to that is that if you're experiencing that, we do want to look at it from the other side as well. I want to go back and do you know which ones are showing as non-deliverable? Because we want to go back to the researcher and say, here's what we found. Is it possible you entered this incorrectly? Next time you're in that court, I want you to take every one of these and come back and let us know what you find. Is that the correct data that's in there? Because part of the challenge may well be that, these are humans entering this data, and they just may have entered the data wrong, and you may find a court where you've got one sloppy clerk that's just transposing lots of numbers and all that. Nobody's ever cared because nobody looks at that data but us. So we need to know as best we can, and our job is to always improve our process. So while it may well be a mailing problem, it could also be a data collection problem, and I don't want to negate that. I want to improve both pieces of this. So please let us know, if you can, really specifically, which ones you got back undeliverably, and we'll go through them and see what we can figure out. I don't want you to continue to get that if we can fix it.
Well, I think what I'm going to do, I think the approach that I'm going to take right now is, since I just received the third set, I'm going to be sending out basically the same mailer over to the entire number of people once again, but I'm just going to use a different color. And if I get the same number of non-deliverables, I'll certainly, send that over to you to the support email address, and vice versa. I mean, I'll just let you know one way or another exactly how we make out.
Sure.
So, since you're putting labels on them, is that correct?
We're using the clear labels.
Is it possible for you to print them on a printer where you're not doing that, where it appears that it's less of a business solicitation?
We considered trying to imprint the envelopes directly, but logistically that's going to be a problem. Until the list becomes a bit larger, it's going to be it's just not going to be reasonable. I mean, just trying to be honest about it. So, I mean, if it were over 1,000 pieces, it'd be different.
There's a relatively inexpensive printer that will solve your problem even in short runs like that. It's the HP Envy. It's under $100 at almost every office supply store.
Mm-hmm.
And it will print those kinds of envelopes or A9s. It prints them sideways. You just invert the image in Word. You do exactly the same thing you're doing to print your labels, but it'll print it directly on the envelope, and it'll handle a stack of about 40 to 50 at a time.
Okay.
And it's a cheap printer, very inexpensive printer.
You said HP Envy, is that correct?
Yeah, Envy, like green with.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that one more time?
HP Envy, ENVY, like you're envious of someone. And
Envy.
It's a very small printer. Get the least expensive model that they have. The ink is pretty cheap. And if you want to do it yourself, that's what I'd recommend. We use stacks of those printers. That's what we're doing a lot of our custom print stuff with, is that particular printer. It works great.
I see. Thank you. I appreciate that. I'll try that out.
And Sam, if you do that, go take the time to find a really good handwritten font, because it does make a massive difference in open rates.
Do you have any particular ones that you use?
I actually got mine. There's a free font website. It's called DaFont, DAFONT.com, and you can just type in handwriting, and it'll bring up probably a half a dozen free handwritten fonts that you can get there.
Okay, I'll try that out.
Excellent, guys. I apologize for the background noise. I'm remote. I don't have a way to to block it out. Well, whoever did just blocked it out themselves. Thank you. What other questions, guys? We've got another 10 or 15 minutes. Who has another question for us?
I have a question about the phone numbers. Oh, go ahead.
There was two of you. The one that mentioned phone numbers first.
Okay. I'm only on my second month of leads, so I don't want to say it's been going on for a long time, but both sets that I've gotten have about 35 or 40% invalid phone numbers, and I was wondering, because I know when we got our leads, there was two options. We can get them with numbers or without, but is there anybody using any other source for phone numbers? I've heard about a company called Cole Realty Resource, and I don't know if maybe should I just get the leads and then look for the phone numbers on my own? What is our source phone number?
Let me ask you a question, because a very small percentage of these have the phone numbers in the probate file. If the phone numbers are there, we provide those. We run it through several different databases to compile our phone numbers. What I always tell everyone, in many cases, you're going to get 2 or 3 phone numbers per air. Some are going to be cell phones, some are going to be landlines, some are going to be fax machines, and some are going to be disconnected. Are you calling all? So some of them are not going to be good, but when you call all 3 of them, or all the phone numbers provided for that air, a majority of the time, at least one of them should be good. It's like
that's what I thought, but I have about 40% across the board that do not have a single valid number.
What county?
Right, and that's just the nature of the way we get these phone numbers. I mean, that's kind of what we see across the industry. If you look at big systems like Vulcan 7 or Leads Today, or even Cold Data, it's everybody. It's not like it's not an easy thing to do. So I think, the key is to focus on, hey, I got 60% good numbers, and we probably don't do a good enough job at really explaining, that we're not going to get 100%, and we're striving for that. We're connected to probably the best and most accurate database in the country now, so our numbers will get better, but 60% is about what we would expect and what I experience in my market.
Okay, so there's no point by paying for coal on top of my lead.
No, I don't think anyone's going to get better results than we are.
What county are you in?
I'm in Williamson County in Austin, in Texas.
Okay. So, and this is to everything like that. If you are finding, if you're finding whatever you think is in enough data that you're getting, and I appreciate you letting us know. We're going to do the same thing there. We're going to see where they're coming from. There are currently three different resources that we're using to augment data, and we're getting ready to nail up a fourth one, and we're going to do it until we know that we can't get better information than we're getting. So I'm writing down what you just said. We're going to look at where that data is coming from, go back to what we're paying for, and make sure we're getting the best that we can. And we're adding, just so you know, we're going to be adding the white pages, phone book white pages, to our data resource. We're actually working against an API programming interface that they gave us. So we're going to continue to get better, and I don't want to be, you shouldn't have to go find extra stuff to make this work better for you. But go back to what Chad said also, if you're doing the mailings, you've got to touch all the bases. You've got to try to call them. You certainly need to mail to them, and you got to focus on the ones that are getting you good responses. And we're going to continue to do our job. If you let us know, we're going to get better at it.
Is that in Williamson County? Is this Rav?
Yes, Rick Robbie.
Okay. I'm getting some stuff. I'm just kind of curious. I'll call you later. Never mind. Thank you.
Are you in the same county?
Yes, I'm in Williamson County. Same list that he gets, I get, and I'm getting some results. Not a lot, but.
Are you telling all the people you talk to? Are you telling all those people to tell them that they don't know anything? That's what's happened. I know that's what it is.
I'm sorry. Say that again.
If anyone else calls, be sure and tell them it's the wrong number, okay?
I didn't hear that.
I said we think you probably get to them first and tell them if anybody else calls, tell them it's the wrong number.
Right. I said if a guy named Robbie calls, don't speak to him. Not
yeah,
really.
I knew we'd get to the bottom of this.
There was another gentleman that started to ask a question before the phone came up.
Yeah, this is Harry. I'm just looking at my my Voice Logic report for the last batch I sent out, and it was 196 numbers, and it looks like they connected to 112, so a little over 50%. I would also say that I have gotten no calls back. I've done 2 mailings so far, and I haven't gotten any calls back from either the letters, and I did get one connection, somebody who called me back off of the last ringless voicemail. And when I called her back, she would actually pick up the phone. I got 3 people who would call back and not leave messages, so I haven't been overwhelmed so far with response. So any suggestions about what I should do?
And
besides persevere?
You sent the new version of your options letter, Robbie?
The last one I think was, yes.
Yeah, and good job on that. I think that was a nice touch. But I mean, are you dropping your phone call pretty close to the letter and referencing?
Well, the last time I couldn't because we had a little snafu with the mailing, so it was probably about 5 or 6 days after the letter went.
Yeah, and that's fine. I mean, it's just what's key is it's afterwards and it's close. It doesn't have to be the day after or 2 days after. So, and the message you're using is it just pretty generic or?
Yep.
Okay. It sounds like you're doing everything right. I'm not sure. I don't know. I mean, Jim and I were actually talking about this week. There have been periods in my market where I completely dried up for 3 months, and then Jim would be nailing listings, and then he would get nothing for 2 or 3 months, and then all hell would break loose, and you would list 5 houses in a week. So I can't quite explain it. I blame the letters, because when it was happening to me, I was testing the options letter. And the first 2 times that I sent the options letter, I got nothing. But I have, over the last 6 months, I have listed at least 4 houses off of that, what I had posted up as a failed campaign. They just came 6-8 months later. They basically called and said, "Come list me." And in all those instances, they had just done nothing. And they just hadn't gotten themselves to the point emotionally where they were ready to deal with the situation. But when they did, they picked up the options letter and they called me, and we had the homes listed. Usually within 48 hours, we had the listings. I will say this is a long-term campaign. It's not as long-term as like a house values. You're looking at probably a 9-month cash conversion on something like that on Facebook House Value League. This, you should see some early results, and after about the 3rd or 4th month, you're kind of build up, you'll get a cumulative effect, and as that momentum comes, you'll start to get business. I guarantee you, if you stick with it, you'll get business off of those letters that you think nobody opened or nobody read or nobody responded to your phone call.
Yeah, Harry, I always share it with people. Initially, I didn't get a call the first month at all, and the second month I got a couple, and then the floodgates kind of opened in the 3rd month. And I actually had six probate closings in January, and then it slowed down. It does seem to run in cycles, and my best explanation is 2 things that Dad mentioned, that people do grieve at different intervals, and it takes some people longer to act than others. And I'll give you an example. About 6 weeks ago, I went on a $2.5 million listing from a letter I sent out a year ago, and there were 5 heirs who each got an attorney. And when the court finally decided who was in charge, the guy called me to list the property. So all we can really tell you, it sounds like you're doing everything right. Just to hang in there. It will or it should have a cumulative effect. And Chad and I have talked about this. We think maybe on the calls we've spent a lot of time talking about the 20 or so people that got 5 listings the first month. We should also try to focus on the people that it took a few months to get going, and then all of a sudden, things kind of broke loose. So, and that's another thing we talked about. If you guys, besides customer support, if you guys have testimonials, if you have success stories, if you have things that have happened to you, good or bad, please share them with us. If there's not time on the call, send us an email, because we'll drill down and we'll find some things that are common to the people that are successful, and the ones that are struggling a bit. So, only thing I can say is, on anything like this, I know, and I'm sure everybody, it's not hard to tell. Jim and I are different types of salespeople, but we've both done this successfully. So you can always email Chad at All the Leads or Jim at All the Leads, or email us both, and we can both give you feedback on things just like this. So don't wait till next Thursday's call or wait till next month to see what happens. I mean, jump in there and ask. That's what we're here for. And we made ourselves guinea pigs and did this for a year, so we learned a lot, and we can really help you guys with that.
How can
Jim, is it too late to kind of give a bit of a testimonial? I've just got my first set of leads.
No, please do. Please do.
I mailed out on Saturday. I'm in Southern California. I mailed out on Saturday. I made the first calls yesterday. I had 80 leads. I made 78 calls with, actual phone numbers, 20 contacts, and I got 3 leads just off of the calls. So That's not a listing yet, but those are people that I actually talked to 20 people. Some information was wrong. A lady, it wasn't a probate matter. It just title transferred to her name because the spouse died. And then she was like, well, can you call me back? And I called her back in an hour, and she said, yeah, I've got 40 acres of land. I don't really care if I sell it or keep it, but you can call me back. Okay, well, that's not bad.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you for that story.
Mm-hmm.
Quick question about letters, the letters that go out. When you order the letters to be sent out, how do you know when they actually go out? You know, if you hit ASAP, is that the next day or?
Tim, why don't
Tim?
you take this one?
Yeah. So whoever's beating their dog, stop beating their dog for just a second. I can't hear. We need to do a better job of doing exactly that. Let you know when they come out. What you can expect, it depends on the timeline of when they come in. If they come in on a Monday, if you place an order on a Monday, it should be in the mail no later than Thursday. And we have a semi-automated or had a semi-automated system to get the information back to you to tell you that.
That was your semi-automated board that went off.
But seriously, we are going to. It's going to be an automated system in two respects. First off, we're going to send you an email and say, hey, your stuff hit the post office box today, and we've gotten several requests from people who want to know what it looks like and all that. So what we're going to start adding to each mailing when we do the mailing for you is we'll mail you a copy of the letter every time we send them out to your customers. So not only will you know when they went out, but you'll know when they start getting them because you'll get them.
Oh, that's great. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for asking the question. That's great. And whoever's doing the clown noise, that's even better. Thank you.
Guys, we try to keep these calls right. Oh, I love it.
Hello. Hello, can't hear you.
Way to go, Tim.
That's got to be Chad.
Hello.
All right. Yeah,
there we are.
Somebody put us on hold and we got their background music. I think that lovely melody was a good way to end this week's call. One thing we promise you, we will have a lot of news for you next Thursday, and I'll be back in my office. We'll do a much better job of monitoring the background noise. So thank you, everybody, for calling in today. Get out there and take some action and be our success story next week, guys. Have a great week. Thanks for calling in. Take care.